Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome into today's video. If you've been on this channel before, you know that I am a propagandist. I am very pro propaganda as a marketer, leveraging content as our modern day marketing tactic in order to increase the probability that people buy our products and services come time that that decision is made. Propaganda in a nutshell, just to be clear, is giving people ways to think, giving beliefs, addressing beliefs that might already exist, adjusting or giving perspective to potential buyers in our sales process, all intended to dramatically increase the probability of purchase come time that that buying decision occurs. I've leveraged propaganda over the course of a little more than a decade now inside of every single client that we've worked on behalf of. In today's video, I'm going to show you literal examples I accumulated over the years, rather large swipe file. I will not go through the entirety of that swipe file because it's massive, but regardless, I will go through some of the most current videos and pieces of propaganda that I have accumulated and demonstrate to you why I think they are effective. I'm going to show you two types of examples. I'm going to show you business examples that come from service businesses and product businesses, and I'm going to demonstrate to you in a very literal sense how they are leveraging propaganda in order to influence people continuing to buy or buying for the first time. Those will be really helpful and likely something that you can use as like an example for what you can replicate from. I also have entire videos dedicated to what type of propaganda you can use, where I talk more about the topic itself, the strategy, and how to tactically get it all set up and deploy. This video is solely dedicated once again to just the examples. To be clear, in addition to the business examples, I'm also going to be demonstrating some political and military examples of propaganda that are a little more broad. However, they will be used as an example because I think they'll show you from a bigger picture propaganda from another perspective, which will be very helpful for you in understanding once again how to apply it to your business. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. Okay, one of the first things that's happening right now out there in the world, whether you're aware of it or not, is there's a company that sells eggs. You might even buy their eggs as somebody who've used this channel that's a little more financially well off. And those are the pasture-raised eggs from Vital Farms. Vital Farms can be found in almost all grocery stores, I believe internationally at this point to be fair, but definitely here within the United States. Vital Farms is typically a premium brand of eggs, okay? Simply put, they're typically pasture-raised. In some instances, they even go as far as flexing, True Blues, and, long story short, they have always talked about the fact that they don't use, mass farming techniques for their chickens. They typically say that their chickens are all pasture-raised, which means that they're all prancing around in a field. In addition to that, because they're not like a mass-scaled farming operation, the way that their operations and logistics are set up, by the way, I know all this from content I've seen from them, is set up with small farms. So they use a shitload of small farms that have pasture-raised chickens in order to, once again, raise their chickens and sell at scale the amount of eggs that they do. Now, to be clear, there is currently a lawsuit from PETA, the incredible propaganda machine, whether you like them or not. PETA is definitely a propaganda machine. And Vital Farms has really been doing a good job so far, in my opinion, of fighting this alleged, set of claims that PETA is alleging against Vital Farms in this lawsuit. PETA's essentially said your chickens are not actually pasture raised, which is the whole claim and the whole premise of Vital Farms. So it really undermines the claim. And it created a lot of kind of like clickbait exposed content. Since Vital Farms is such a massive business and a massive brand and it gets a significant amount of eyeballs, they've got to counter this. Vital Farms has got to counter this with essentially counter propaganda, which is the first example I'm going to demonstrate to you here today. What I have in front of me is from Vital Farms directly, and it is essentially a blog. This is written propaganda here of them directly countering the claims that PETA makes within their lawsuit. They immediately allege that it's misinformation, once again, and they just start going through exactly why it's misinformation. And by the way, it's not even that long. It's pretty simple and easy to consume. Now, to be clear, on TikTok specifically, Vital Farms came out with a very direct piece of propaganda directly addressing the claim as a business. So remember, there's really two types of propaganda from a business. There's direct propaganda and there's indirect propaganda. This is an example of direct propaganda. Them directly addressing the claim that somebody else has made against them, in this case, countering the other party's propaganda. And to be clear, they're just trying to address what it is that people are talking about. So let's watch it.
We recognize you may have recently come across some concerning or confusing information about Vital Farms. As a brand, we pride ourselves in being BS free. So to help set the record straight, we're answering your questions and bringing the receipts. You asked us if PETA is suing Vital Farms. They aren't. PETA Foundation helped file a case with a bunch of false claims back in 2021, and then they dropped out of the case over a year ago in May of 2023. We'll let you draw your own conclusions on why they backed out. You asked us if our eggs are actually pasture raised. They are. Our hens have access to the outdoors year-round and get at least 108 square feet of room per hen. You asked to see the inside of our barns, so here's some content we grabbed on one of our phones when we were out on a farm earlier this summer. Our girls have barns they go into at night to protect them from predators while they sleep. We like to think of the barns as their dorm rooms, and the pasture as their campus. You asked us about our farming practices and if we really do what we say we do. So here's the skinny. We started as one farm in Austin, Texas. As we grew, we didn't make our farm bigger. We found other like-minded farmers who are passionate about animal welfare to work with us. Today we work with over 350 family farmers. These are the people who care for the hens and supply the eggs we then bring to grocery stores for you. And we have actual footage of the hens on actual farms. Look up a farm from your next carton to see where your eggs came from. We regularly add new videos as we welcome new farms to our network. Wondering how you can trust us? We'll let our third-party certifications do the talking. We're audited every year by organizations like Certified Humane and Whole Foods. This means third-party animal welfare organizations have certified our pasture-raised egg practices. And this isn't one and done. Every year, each of our farms undergoes an extensive inspection and verification process to ensure we meet or exceed all Certified Humane standards for pasture-raised hens. We're also a certified B Corp, which means we're dedicated to using our business as a force for good. Not because anyone told us to, but because we believe good businesses do good. Still have questions? Feel free to give us a shout in the comments or shoot us a DM.
So Vital Farms did an incredible job once again countering the claims that are essentially going against them currently. And they did it one by one by one by one. Not only did they do it with words, they did it with incredible visuals as you sat there and consumed the content. One thing I like to do with content is I like to turn down the volume and I like to watch it just from a perspective of visuals. In addition to that, I like to watch it, or I should say listen to it without the visuals and just listen to the words. You likely don't have a visual in your head unless it's made up of what pasture-raised chickens even look like. Like, what does the pasture look like? How does that work? You likely make it up. They're giving you visuals here of what it looks like. They're showing, like when I think of modern day chicken farms, I think of like, you know, one of those massive long barns that just has infinite chickens like all standing right next to each other. You can see here, I mean, even in their little barn that they have that the lady described as a dorm, like there's really not that many and they're also pretty spread out. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is one of who knows how many farms that they have since they talked about the fact they use a bunch of small farms. But like, dude, look at this guy. Farmer just sitting here petting the chicken. Genuinely looks like he loves what he's doing. They show the lady going through the eggs and it's just one single lady and then the next lady, it's like they're happy, they're smiling. Back to the pasture, this guy's out here reading fucking books to the chickens, you know what I mean? It's like these kind of things, they slip past you. You likely didn't consider the fact that that guy was sitting there reading a book the first time, you know? Or these two guys like loving on the chickens. My point is, the visuals pair just as strong as the words in this example. Although to be fair, the words did an incredible job as well, countering once again the claims and giving modern day people who are sitting here watching this, the Vital Farms buyers or the people on the fence about buying Vital Farms, the people who saw this, simply put, dude, they're gonna continue buying that brand. If anything, they'll actually be more excited about buying it now that they have all this additional information in their head. I know as an example, when I first saw the whole exposed thing and you know, oh, they're not actually pasture raised, I was kind of like, man, that sucks, you know, like another brand we can't trust. And then I saw this and I was like, dude, okay, I was wrong. And no, they're actually right. I'm gonna continue buying their brand. Honestly, it's probably gonna be the only brand I ever buy now, you know? So my point being, that's what propaganda does. Propaganda essentially sways your buyers one way or the other. There's a constant stream of people who will always remain sold, and there's a constant stream of people who will always remain unsold. But remember, there's always this swing vote in the middle. And people in the swing vote category are where a majority of your customers can come from when you successfully swayed them with propaganda into the, well, I'm a buyer category, you see? Okay, now to get far away from eggs, to move into the world of private jets, there's a company that essentially creates these, they're a private jet broker, okay? And what they do,
Amalfi Jets, this is Colin.
They're called Amalfi Jets. Okay, it's this guy named Colin who stars in every piece of content. He's likely the business owner or some type of executive in the business, and he does a really smart thing, okay? He essentially stages these phone calls where he gets friends and people that work in the business that call him and essentially propose these like different situations. And sometimes, to be fair to Colin, there might actually be some real phone calls in here, but you can tell the majority of them are by far fake when you're looking at it from a propagandist perspective. But to a regular person, when you go through the comments on some of these things, they don't come off as fake at all to the people who are actually sitting here watching. So keep that in mind. Although we know as the propagandists that this is fake and staged content, people who are consuming it have really no idea. So I say all that to let you know, like, okay, now to Colin's content. First of all, look how much of it there is. Look how many views all this content gets. This video we're about to watch has 16.5 million views. Most of these videos that we see at the lowest have a couple 100,000 views. Several of them, almost a majority of them, have have millions of views. So this works as a content strategy exceptionally well. Now, Colin's obviously leveraging this organically on TikTok to his benefit, which is awesome. However, most businesses won't have the benefit of this level of organic distribution. Thus why you have to use propaganda strategies where you're going to take that content, you're going to pay to distribute it to people who are at certain stages of your sales process. But I digress. We're going to watch a piece of content from Colin and how this staged content actually looks and how real it's interpreted as. And essentially what I want you to understand, this is that example of like direct business content. This is a direct example that you can use in your own business to essentially overcome the 4 quadrants. Questions that come from those questions getting answered, expectations and objections. Give or take the video, you're watching different circumstances play out for what Almafi Jets in this case as a business can do for customers, what the expectations of flying on private jets and working with Almafi Jets is like, and a lot of those question categories getting answered. So let's check it out.
This is John. I'm sure you know my daughter. She's famous on TikTok. Everybody knows her.
Okay.
She needs a flight from New York to LA today. Obviously, we expect it for free because you know who she is. How quickly can you get this done for me?
Yeah, so in terms of aircraft availability, best route pairing for this is going to be Teterboro, New Jersey, Teterboro, Van Nuys. Looking at our just kind of what airplanes are physically there with all of our operators, I'm looking at like 12 airplanes that are there. I have 3 Citation 10s, a Gulfstream, a Global, and this is a G6 fifth. Cost-wise for this flight, normally it's going to be about $37,000.
We're not going to be doing $37K for this. This is obviously, it's going to benefit you significantly more than this is benefiting us. She'll post about you, get you guys, mint you guys. Nobody's ever heard of multi-jets, so, it just doesn't make sense for us to pay for this. Obviously, this makes way more sense for you guys to just go ahead and give this to us.
100% understand where you're coming from. I mean, in terms of cost, more than happy to offer in any sort of discount that I can, but I mean, we don't really ever give out free flights. It's not necessarily fair to our clients that do pay us. Would you guys fly commercial?
Right, honestly, man, if you're not willing to do it, I'm sure she'll do the opposite as well. She's perfectly open to go ahead and just trash you guys on TikTok, which if we can't do this, then that's going to have to be the route that we go.
Got it. Okay, so just to confirm here. So we need a plane from New York to LA today for your daughter, preferred Gulfstream. Want it to be comp for the TikTok promotion or posting bad about us on TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the only way that we can go here.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to offer a free flight.
Yeah, I'm just not interested in that. Yeah, you can go ahead and expect that video to be going out here.
I look forward to it. Again, sorry we weren't able to help out with a free flight, but okay. I'm all set.
Okay, so to be clear, I genuinely think this is all staged in 90% of this guy's videos. And you could see though, when you look through the comments, like, as an example, very first comment, skit or not, there are actual people that act like this. This is the exact reason that this guy made this video. As the quantity of views on his channel grows and as his propaganda and business overall reaches more people, guess what starts to happen? People start to call him up and say, hey, I'm TikTok famous, can you give me a free flight? I'll shout you out. You see? So in order to counteract that, this guy makes a piece of content essentially saying, no, we don't want to deal with people like that, and here's how we treat people that call us and do these kind of things. Great piece of content, believe it or not, once again, for just dealing with some type of person that's going to hit him up and kind of waste his time and clog his business lines for his sales process. And also, just look at it for what it is in terms of the content, right? Every single piece of content from this guy is shot from the same angle. Essentially, could be set up on a tripod, could just be somebody sitting there filming on their phone. But it's the same thing every single time. It's a content flywheel where it's just different people calling in and him answering their questions. Now, to be clear, when I say it's a content flywheel, that means that he has a repeatable piece of content that he can just plug different topics into in this case, and it works great. Okay, let's watch another one.
I'm off the jets. This is Colin.
Hi, Colin. This is Holly. I'm calling on behalf of, assuming you know who she is.
I'm very familiar with who she is.
It's a great one because it represents that Almafi Jets can go work with a lot of famous and successful and well-known people well.
Good. I need a jet from Miami to New Orleans on October 25th. She obviously has a plane, but it's broken right now, and I need to get it figured out in the next 10 minutes.
Of course. Yeah, we can 100% help with this. So October 25th, Miami, New Orleans. How many passengers?
2.
Perfect. And then when did you guys need to leave Miami?
Whatever plane you have first. 5 a.m. We'll do 5 a.m.
Perfect. I have a G4, we're coming in at like 24,000. I have a G5 at 28,000. And then if we want like the largest, I have a Global 6,000 at 32,000.
Is that the most expensive? I need the highest brand.
Yeah. The largest would be a Global 7,500. On this date, I don't have any near Miami. I can reposition one in. The nearest is in Teterboro.
Great. I'm going to need you to figure it out. I'm going to need that thing in Miami.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, now watch this. This piece of content starts to transition to the expectations of somebody who's, rich and famous, and some of the things that this company can cater to in order to, help somebody like that feel comfortable on a chartered jet instead of their own jet.
I can do that, not a problem. So pricing.
By the way, if you noticed, they also are saying, hey, we can cater to people who already have jets very well, who, might have their jet in maintenance or whatever.
To get the Global 7,500 from Teterboro to Miami, and then Miami to New Orleans, I'm looking at 52,500.
Cool. Don't care. Figure it out. Also, I'm going to need catering on that.
Okay.
You guys do.
If it is fake, right, which high probability it is, this is really good too, because he's also setting the expectation for what his average customer should behave like, right? When he says, oh, it's going to be this much, and the customer responds, well, I don't care, just book it in, whatever. He's setting the expectation for like how you should behave when you're chartering jets. Because it's a higher probability that, just given the quantity of users, there's going to be a lot of newer people or people who haven't used jets that frequently that are going to be working with this guy. So he's setting the expectation for how you should behave.
Catering.
Of course, yeah. What do you need?
Are you writing this down? I need a vanilla frosty with an order of French fries. None of it can have branding.
Got it.
It all needs to be plated. It needs to look nice.
Got it. Yeah, that's not a problem. All these aircraft have a private flight attendant. She's going to take them out of all the packaging, plate it properly, then we'll serve it, with the full utensil set and so forth.
It can't be a girl.
Okay, I'm sorry, a male flight attendant?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I just would need to confirm availability on the date, but I do not see that being a problem. I already have Tyler from Flight Ops working on this trip, so he's going to send over the itinerary, which includes the crew names, tail number, photos of the aircraft, and then I just sent him the catering order, so that's already arranged. Anything else that I can help with on this trip?
No.
Perfect. All right, thank you for calling, and I'll send this over right now.
Thanks.
See, so once again, incredible for like setting the expectation for how to behave, how to think, what they can cater to. Great piece of content all around. And this guy specifically has a lot of different pieces of content that you can go and consume about what he does. Okay, to be clear, we have another piece of content. If I'm not mistaken, this one is
Pasture raised.
Yep, this one is related to the eggs. So check this out, okay? This kind of sells the industry of what pasture raised is and what it means.
That is becoming the gold standard.
That's become the most greenwashed terms. And we say we want to put pasture raised on our label. We send a 1-paragraph affidavit to the USDA that says, we promise that we'll do this. Nobody ever checks, nobody ever comes out. That's the same for every brand that wants to do it. The USDA says like free range and pasture raised are just synonyms. So you could have a farm that has 24,000 birds living on top of each other, limited access to the outdoors. Maybe they pop their head out seasonally, maybe they don't. You can have a bird that's sold as a pasture raised chicken or pasture raised eggs. That chicken's never been outside once in its life. It's lived inside of this industrial warehouse its entire life. And I would actually say that's the rule rather than the exception. We've challenged a bunch of other brands. We're like, I'll buy the iPhone, I'll buy everything for you. I dare you to live stream from inside of your coop. So far, nobody's taken us up on it.
Pasture raised.
This is incredible, right? So this specific brand, Pasture Bird, unknown in comparison to Vital Farms, is essentially flexing the fact that their chickens are raised on an actual pasture-raised environment in comparison to the other brands that claim pasture-raised. And they're essentially arguing that, hey, if you're as good as what you claim and you're really doing this, then why wouldn't you live stream it? We'll even buy the iPhone for you to live stream it all. So my point being, this guy as well, if you go to Pasture Bird, also has an incredible amount of content. Stuff just as simple as this. Just a bunch of birds just in the pasture. That's all sometimes propaganda needs to be, as a follow-up piece of content after somebody visited the website, or maybe they had location data from people who went to grocery stores and could have bought it but maybe didn't. That's literally as simple as content needs to be in some instances. Other times it's like this.
You say you like the wind blowing through your hair. Come on, roll with.
See, it's just like healthy looking chickens in an environment where there's still grass in the barn, Anyway, the moral of the story is not to sit here and make this entire video about chickens and pasture raised things. Let's check out a home builder who does custom work. This is one of my favorite guys on TikTok when it comes to the content that he creates, establishing the right perspective. Like, I think his content's perfect. It, first of all, signifies who should work with him and who should never contact him. All his work looks exceptionally high quality. It's all custom. Everything that he does is custom. So when you hear about what he talks about, he's gonna say something along the lines of like, client wanted us, and then he explains like what the client wanted, and he's walking through what he is completed work essentially of what he managed to accomplish based on the client's expectation. So he says what the client wants, he showed what he did, which fulfilled what the client wanted, and it's always like rich person shit. You know, it's always targeted towards a demographic of people who are very financially well off. So check this one out.
When guests come to your home, you don't want them to be confused about which front entry to go to. Here, I made it blatantly obvious. Large, white, bright, embracing, that's the front entrance. The second entrance is tucked behind the buttress. This is a buttress. The stepping stone path leads directly to one end of the mudroom and straight into the kitchen area. This way there's no confusion for guests or deliveries. And it gives kids a place to drop off their backpacks and get to their snacks. When guests come to your...
Love this guy's content, to be clear. So easy to shoot as well, by the way, just in terms of what he does. Okay, check this one out.
Client did not want to see the shampoos in the corner or in a shampoo niche. I designed the vanity to have a leg detail, and in that leg detail there's a void inside the side of the cabinet, and then I built a shampoo niche in the side of the cabinet so that this way every time when she walks in she's not looking at her shampoo niche. I also put a soap and shaver shelf up towards the top with then the shelf down below to put their shampoos. I also added a bench that is not really being used as a bench to sit on, but more of shaving your legs. The distance of the leg shaving bench is such that even if you go all the way up to it in the shower, you're not hitting the wall, you're not hitting your face, you're not hitting your shins on that bench, but it's in a nice spot so that she can put her leg up, have a hand sprayer, and spray her legs.
So good. So good. Okay, so to be clear, you'd want a high level of attention to detail out of your home builder, especially when you're working with a custom home builder that's gonna do all of these more expensive little niche things, you know? And my point being, it's like, this is incredible, right? It doesn't look like a poverty-stricken home or even like a home you'd find in the suburbs. Like, this looks like a nice home in most instances when you see this guy's stuff. All right, check this one.
Worst tub design ever. That seems like a fall hazard to me. Immediately no. Putting the short friend in there and oiling the walls of the tub. Pass. I broke my ankle watching this. How the f*** do you get into this tub? This is not your best work. Awful. Wow, I've always wanted to feel like a lizard getting out of a bath. Proof that money can't buy taste. That's not off topic, but bro is beautiful. Lawsuit waiting to happen. The bathroom of true nightmares. So sexy. Ah yes, crawling on the floor to get out of the tub. Imagine being drunk and eating. I am way too panda-like for a tub to be in the floor. My back hurts watching this video. So are you installing a ladder? Rolling around like a beached whale trying to get out. I can't wait for him to read through the comments. Everyone hates it, lol.
So dealing directly with the hate and at the same time like demonstrating how the bathtub works. And look, at the end of the day, like whether you like it or not, he did a great job in that example of demonstrating while talking through the hate how the bathtub actually functioned by getting into it while he's talking about it. All right, watch this one.
Client wanted a hidden spiral stair through a concrete floor, so I hid it behind curved doors and built-in cabinetry. We glued down steel plates on the floor and ceiling around the area to be cut out. A waterproof tub was made with plastic to capture the water used when cutting the concrete to both lubricate the saw and minimize dust. Then installed a stair, wrapped it with framing and custom cabinetry. The doors are custom curved panel doors that follow the radius of the new stairs. When closed, blend into the rest of the built-in and to the entry of the room.
So good. I could sit here and watch this guy's content all day. Here's another good one.
Creating abstract architecture for an experience requires the right product. Common vents can distract from that desired experience. So I used Fitz vents to remove that distraction. We replaced the temporary vent with a linear vent, but that was still too imposing. After the floor was installed, we placed cut stone from the site into the Fitz framed Lux vent tray. Then painted the frames to match the floor color. Customizing the vents serves to visually unify the stone flooring to the outside courtyard. With the durability to walk on, the Fitz vent enhanced the design goal of experiencing nature and bringing the outside in.
So good. Okay, let's watch one more. Let me see if I can find one. There was an example of one where he put a giant rock inside of the living room, and he did such a good job at demonstrating like how he literally took a massive fucking rock and like worked it in with custom glass into the wall. I just truly want to give this guy a shout out. I mean, there is next to nobody that's doing content as great as what this guy is when it comes to, I think we found it. Here we go. All right, watch this.
Client wanted to bring the outside in, so I did, literally, by placing a boulder found during excavation half in and half outside the great room. Continuing a low stone retaining wall from the outside leading to a chimney, I used the boulder to become part of the feature as you approach the house. It broke naturally in the shape of a seat, so I angled it towards the pond. After setting it in place, we cut a groove in the stone, templated for the glass, and installed insulated glass into the boulder. Then stacked other boulders looking tumbled to become part of the fireplace.
So good. Okay, so anyway, once again, huge shout out to this guy, like master of content, and more importantly than anything, a true propagandist, right? Just who do you think he's attracting as leads in this case? You think poor people are constantly hitting him up, or regular people that he would never do projects with hitting him up saying, oh, I'd love to do custom homework? It's like, no, only rich people are hitting this guy up. People who have like really expensive projects are hitting this guy up. People who want custom work, people who want that true attention to detail, you know? And he's consistently in literally every single piece of content putting that on display. He does such an incredible job at this. Okay, to be clear,
you know what?
Outside of the pieces of content that we have watched so far, I want to now bring your attention to a little more broad pieces of content. So at this specific time that I'm filming this video, we're here in October of 2024, and we're going into an election cycle, a presidential election cycle. There are also, if I'm not mistaken, every single seat in the House of Representatives here in the United States are up for vote in re-elections. There are some senator seats. Like, it's a pretty substantial election cycle, simply put. Now, if you look at TV ads, okay, during election cycles, usually they're very obvious and almost making the other person like criminal sounding or like a villain, you know? And you'll rarely ever see these ads because there's a high probability that most of you sitting here watching this channel like don't even watch TV. But you know, if you're one of those guys that might watch sports here and there or watch a game, you know, and you've been watching TV during this specific election cycle, you likely know what I'm talking about. You see some ads for one presidential candidate or the other, and the counterparty is just trashing them, you know, and making them look bad. And like, it's very obvious propaganda is what I'm trying to say. And one thing that you also see during these specific election cycles are mastery level pieces of propaganda that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily notice or consider as propaganda. So I'm going to demonstrate one to you now. When I say this is masterfully done, okay, and I mean masterfully done, there is likely some type of lobbyist that has truly reached like the peak of their career as a propagandist to execute what we are about to watch together. They take a topic that generally will get skipped over and ignored. Okay, most people do not want to sit there and just openly consume political content. Okay, to be fair, there is definitely a demographic out there that does and is happy to do so. And regardless of what is talked about in this specific political piece of content we're about to watch and your views on it, that's not the intention of why we're watching this. We're looking at it as a piece of example of propaganda, to be clear, propaganda example. My point being, okay, they take a topic that's otherwise ignored by most people who just kind of swipe past political stuff, and they wrap it around another topic that you otherwise wouldn't expect. They use the example that you'd ignore as an example in their piece of content, okay? So watch what happens here. The start of the video talks about essentially how to debate effectively. Okay, that has nothing to do with politics. You wouldn't think it has anything to do with politics. It's just essentially how to argue is how this video is framed, okay? And then the example used in the how to argue is about abortion, okay? And it creates, whether you want it to or not, specific views on that topic. And that, in this election cycle, is a rather broad and commonly used topic for whether somebody is for or against abortion. So as an example, watch how masterfully this is done, because once again, it's not directly about abortion. You don't even, when it comes up, think about the fact that they're planting views for ways for you to think about abortion, which is what all propaganda is intended to do. You just think about it as being used as the example for how to argue better, okay? Watch this shit, it's so crazy. It's a little longer, by the way, just bear with me.
I was a top debater in California, and I'm going to tell you.
First of all, look, right, young girl, slightly attractive, you know what I mean? How to actually win an argument at the top, like master level propagandist.
About the biggest mistake that you are making in arguments. The biggest mistake that you're making is you are not arguing the premise. You are reacting, which is very, very natural and very human, to the thing that has just been put in front of you and defending against that. When very good debaters, they don't do that. Arguments are made like this. They're chains with links here. These links are called warrants. If you can get rid of one of those warrants, the argument topples. So let's come up with an example. Let's take pro-life people say abortion is murder. And they say—
You see this? Just out of nowhere, you know? Now we're talking about abortion.
This to justify why abortion is bad, right? And most leftists respond to this by trying to say that it's not murder, which is an ineffective strategy, because then you have to get into at what point is a fetus actually a human? And our best scientists and philosophers are still kind of cut up about this. When instead, the better argument is finding what the conservative one lacks. So they're saying abortion is murder, and thus we shouldn't do abortion because murder is bad. But that's not always true. In our society, we let people get away with murder all the time. Think about state-sanctioned violence and acts of war. There are many examples where people would say that the only acceptable response is murder. We also allow for the death penalty. We also allow for murder in the case of self-defense. So to argue against the abortionist murder claim, it's way more effective not to argue that it isn't murder, but to argue that it is one of those cases where we should allow for murder. And again, I'm not saying that I believe in that at all. I'm just saying that the next time you find yourself in a political argument or an argument in general, stop reacting to the first thing and think about if what they're saying is even effective.
So it's like, okay, how to win an argument, you know, some points that are made about how you can win an argument, an example where the propaganda is officially injected and gives you ways to think about it, and then you pull back out of it and you go back to the point at hand, which is just, oh, I'm just talking about how to argue, you know? And oh, it's so well done. It's so during election cycles, you'll see a lot more of this, okay? And this, once again, is how the true propagandists get ideas to the masses at scale, okay? This kind of shit isn't officially endorsed by a specific party. You know, it's not like this ad was endorsed by this presidential candidate. You know, it's like, that's not this type of content, right? This type of content is like the secretive propaganda that is usually distributed at a much larger scale in comparison to like those political ads that you typically find on TV. Okay, now I'm gonna show you one for the United States military. So the United States military, I'm not sure on the official statistics in terms of like exact percentages for like the decline or the increase in overall recruits coming into the different military branches that we have here in the United States. But I have seen pieces of propaganda, I believe in the news, that have essentially signaled that there is a lower quantity of the younger generation specifically joining in and enlisting into the military. So what does the military do, right? Well, first of all, most people don't know this, but Call of Duty, the entire franchise, is sponsored by the United States Army. And very little known fact, but like if you look at the back, I know physical discs don't exist anymore, but if you ever just go and look it up yourself, like you can see on the back of the discs, like on the back cover of the game folder there, that it says like, you know, sponsored by the United States Army. And to be clear, this is obviously not a mistake. I mean, dude, I know many men myself who I've grown up with who played Call of Duty hours and hours and hours a day that love, you know, the fact that they're in the military now and getting to use a lot of the weapons that they experienced. From a conditioning perspective, you know, just playing Call of Duty would condition you to like the sounds and like the excitement and like kill streaks and like, you know, all these different things that exist inside of actual war, you know? Point being, why would the military sponsor that if it didn't have a high probability of increasing the quantity of people that are gonna get recruited into the military and, you know, enlist? That's one example that is, you know, lesser known. But in addition to that, there's other examples that also play out quite masterfully, okay? And a lot of that is done on TikTok nowadays. So I have a great piece of content. And just to be clear, same thing as the last piece, you know, relatively controversial, give or take what your worldviews are. More so, I just want you to look at it as a piece of propaganda and see, okay, would this increase the probability that somebody who's younger would potentially enlist, okay? That's all we're looking at it from. Check this out.
When you see what happened in New York and you hear that he wants an ISIS flag outside his hospital room, what do you think of?
Obviously, it sickens my heart to see that kind of thing. And when I hear people about, should we send him to Gitmo, I say we skip Gitmo and send him straight to hell where he belongs.
Than the terrorists. We'll be like them if we do that. What's your reaction?
Actually, yes, we are different than the terrorists. We don't do things that they do. We don't systematically rape 10-year-old girls like they do. And the way you get rid of people like that is you kill them. You hunt them down and you kill them. That's what we should be doing.
Black chicks, black cars, posted in the back.
Foreign block, loaded car, I can't never let. Use the club, if you hit a lick, can't run it back. Okay, shorty, I can't trust no bitch, how you dead? Fuck the fact, I'ma kill a bitch if he talk back. I'ma fuck shit, don't sweat the shit, ain't running back. If I'm in your hood, see you, bitch, ain't running back. I just have
Let's go. Don't stay out too late.
When you see, just makes you want to go hunt bad guys, you know? Okay, now this video has millions of views, by the way. And to be clear, look at the comments, right? Double the defense budget and create an offense budget. Military getting free advertisement. You don't fight evil with tolerance and understanding. Dude, at the least, right? If it's not enlisting new recruits into the military, I mean, it's persuading people who are against essentially the military doing these things that they normally go do. And, you know, it's persuading them on the opposite. It's like, well, I mean, maybe that is a good idea. So it's technically like a multi-purpose piece of propaganda here. The military posts make me want to re-enlist. You see what I'm saying? And look, by the way, 2,184 people like that. I'll like it too, right? My point being, okay, look, this is an incredibly well done piece of content. And there's so many pieces of content, you know, that we could sit here and go through one after the other, after the other, after the other. But my point being, okay, is there's a lot of propaganda out there. And as a business, you have to be able to master propaganda as well. And if you are still ineffective at doing this, and to be clear, you're a business that's trying to hit $1 million months, I'd really encourage that you join into my Inner Circle program. I go through literal content examples for the clients that we work with. We obviously demonstrate to you by helping you one-on-one in group chats at our masterminds that we do once every quarter, how you can create content, giving you specific ideas, having the group help give you ideas, reviewing the content that you've already gotten, seeing if anything can fit the bill. Once again, if you're rich, trying to get a hell of a lot richer, I don't think that there's a better group that you could possibly be a part of. Jeremy's Inner Circle, go apply for it down in the description. Some of you could potentially work with my marketing agency, although there's a much lower probability of that. We are very selective of who we work with, and it takes you know, a lot, to be clear, in order to work with us as a marketing agency. There's a higher probability you can get consulting services from us, or just once again get help through the Inner Circle program. But if you're trying to hit $1 million months, check out the links in the description. Apply once again to the Inner Circle. Quarterly masterminds in person here in Miami, Florida. Twice a month one-on-one calls, group calls on a weekly basis on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a group chat full of rich people trying to get a hell of a lot richer. I look forward to helping you out more. Go check out some of my other videos on propaganda. I have videos that articulate why it works, how it works. I have videos where I demonstrate how you can use them at specific points within your sales process, the frequency counts that you should be looking for in terms of how many pieces of propaganda people need to see in what duration of time. That includes the emails, that includes the pieces of content, everything really. So anyway, I'm really excited for you to go out there and obviously make more money with this. It's so fun and it's so beneficial when you really start to master propaganda and leveraging it within your content ad strategies. You have any questions, drop them in the comments, like the video, and please subscribe to the channel and go check out some of my other videos. In the meantime, I'm gonna go get richer, and I hope you do too. Bye.